Appointed time and we have a quorum. I call the meeting to order.
議程第一項咧。
Item number 1. Information papers issued since last meeting. There is a large number. Most of them are in relation to United Nations sanctions. And also CEPA documents. Libya, Sudan, of the United Nations sanctions. Apply Research Fund for the period between 1st of March to the 31st of May 2013. A press release on the extension of public consultation period on parody issued by the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau. And they've all been given to members. Item number 2. Date of next meeting and items for discussion. There is a special meeting on the 4th of November. It's a public hearing on treatment of parody under the copyright regime. So far, how many deputations will come? About 15. The meeting will start at 9 and it may last all the way to 6. And it will be shortened if there aren't too many people. The deadline for signing up is the 28th of October. The regular meeting in November will be held on the 19th of November, which is a Tuesday at 2:30 in the afternoon. There are 3 items for discussion. The first one is the extension of the operation of research and development centers. The second one is progress report of the Hong Kong Council for Testing and Certification. And the third one is the establishment of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Wuhan. And if there are other items that you'd like to discuss, please raise it with the Secretariat. Now we move on to item number 3, report on the work of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Offices. The Hong Kong Economic Trade and Cultural Office, Taiwan, and the Office of the Government of the Hong Kong SAR in Beijing in 2012 to 2013. Let's invite the administration to join us.
Andrew. 我哋首先係歡迎商務及經濟發展局、政制及內地事務嘅代表、各位香港駐外經貿代表出席今日呢個會議。首先歡迎各位。咁嗰個名單我唔講啦，因為非常之長，咁大家好似睇到 OK。咁秘書長係咪首先由你簡報一下，然後就你睇邊個比較重要嘅就我哋先係嘛聽咗佢個地區先，好嘛？好，
主席，今日咧就我哋嘅經貿辦主管咧、駐經辦主任同埋我哋駐台灣嘅經貿民辦主任咧，每年都翻嚟香港述職，其中一個重要嘅。
Today we will have the reports from ETOs from the Hong Kong, from the Economic Trade and Cultural Office and the BJO. You will find in the meeting the latest report of work since our last report in November 2012 and information of the way forward. The general economic situation is still uncertain. And recovery of the US and European market is still uncertain. We're faced with various challenges, and the ETOs and our Mainland offices will closely monitor economic and trade developments that may affect Hong Kong, and they will continue to promote Hong Kong's advantages. With your permission, I will ask my colleagues to go over their works on trade, culture, art, and the promotion of trade opportunities. So I will ask Brussels, Washington, Beijing, Tokyo, Singapore, and Geneva, ETO, to go over their work and the economic situation under their purview. First, Washington. Donald. Chairman and members. First, let me go over the U.S. political economic landscape and our work on culture. In 2012, after the general election, there isn't much change in the political landscape in the U.S. President Obama was re-elected, so the Democrat controls Senate, while the Republicans control the House. In the first 10 months of this year, the cooperation between the Democrats and the Republicans has got tougher. On a number of issues, they find it difficult to cooperate. The Parliament and the White House have seen a similar situation. The Republicans themselves have encountered serious problems. Radical conservatives put tremendous pressure on the management of the Republicans. So the leaders of the Republicans on a number of issues cannot reach consensus with the White House and the Democrats in March. Since they cannot reach a consensus, there is a sequestration. Within 9 years, they will have to significantly reduce their deficit. $1.2 trillion. In 2013, because of the sequestration, the U.S. economy will shrink by 0.6%. In October, there were two incidents. One, since the two parties could not reach a consensus on the budget of 2014, so there was a partial shutdown. And it hasn't happened in the past 16 or 17 years, and it's partially closed down for 16 days. So a lot of things have stopped. And also the ceiling of federal debt. It has reached $16.7 trillion. If a loan cannot be obtained, the bonds, the treasury bonds, and credit ratings of a lot of private enterprises will be affected. So will the global economy. It was resolved temporarily, but they have yet to reach a long-term solution. They have yet to find a long-term solution. If these issues remain unresolved in January and February next year, there will be similar uncertainties seen in October. With those seen in October, there is a moderate increase in the U.S. economy. In the second half of the year, it has slackened. In the first half of 2013, economic growth was 1.8%. Recently, because of the various factors I've just mentioned, the latest forecast by the IMF has downwardly adjusted the overall figure to 1.6%. Federal Reserve has also adjusted the figure to about 2.2 to 2.3%. Unemployment in the U.S. has improved somewhat. It stands at 7.3%, but a large amount of number of people have left the labor market, so it's not optimistic. There is also the quantitative easing. Federal Reserve has released some information. So there was great expectation in September that they will reduce mortgage-backed securities, but it did not happen. A lot of bankers found that to be a sign that the Federal Reserve think there are more uncertainties than before, and this is not good.
Now, the U.S. will be subject to two factors. Firstly, in 2014, there will be the midterm elections. This will affect the operation of the Congress and Senate, and this will affect the debate with the White House, and also the timetable of the withdrawal from the mortgage purchase scheme. This will also have a major effect as well. So investment and business decisions will be subject to these two factors of uncertainty, and many analysts feel that many important bills, if they cannot be passed in or resolved in the next 3 months, then they will practically be passed over next year as well, because there won't be the opportunity. So on our work, the Washington, New York, and San Francisco offices have conducted activities jointly and severally, various exhibitions, film festivals, and art groups from Hong Kong all took part in these promotions, and I would be glad to go into details. Linda? In the past year, Hong Kong and the EU have had good relations. The mic does. They are an important, EU is an important trade partner for Hong Kong, so the economic situation has a important bearing on Hong Kong. Now, looking at the EU figures within the euro area, there seems to be some improvement. In second quarter 2013, the GDP grew by 0.4% compared with Q1. This is a welcome sign. This is after 18 months of zero growth or negative growth. So this is the first ray of light after such a long period of stagnation. Now, the main problem for the euro area is still the sovereign debt issue. In order to better monitor the banks, the EU is going to establish a banking union for the EU. Now, the member countries have already reached an agreement on the regulations for this banking union. That was in June. And as for the details of the operation of the union, they hope to reach agreement before the end of the year. And hopefully it can be passed in European Parliament this year. That Parliament will hold elections next year. There will be an all-new European Parliament. So if it passes, the European Banking Union can start operation in early 2015. Now, several countries have been receiving aid from EU. There's Greece, Portugal, Ireland, and Cyprus. In July this year, the Euro area ministers, finance ministers, agreed that the 4.8 billion euros of aid to Greece will be approved, but Greece still has a poor revenue collection system, and the privatization has not been all that successful in terms of prices fetched. The prices are below the expectations, so Greece may need a third round of aid, but this is still to be confirmed. It's only reported in the newspapers, and analysts feel that developments in the next few months will be crucial. Any aid for the third round will be in early next year. As for Portugal, in October, the European Central Bank conducted an assessment and felt that the deficit reduction progress has been satisfactory in Portugal. So the next batch of 5.5 billion euro of aid will be approved. The Prime Minister of Portugal said that hopefully they will not need to borrow from EU again. As for Ireland, the aid program will come to an end at the end of this year. Ireland feels that it doesn't have to borrow any more. Well, rather, people feel that Ireland, being the first country to receive aid, can now withdraw from the backup program, and they do have quite a good financial fiscal situation. They stopped issuing public debt in October. They have enough cash to meet the requirements in 2014. As for Cyprus, after the unrest in March this year, they have arranged for financial aid from EU. In July, the European banks have had their capital reorganized, and the financial sector is now stabilizing, and the Cyprus banks, most of the capital and shares are owned by the depositors. Now, in August, the Cyprus government announced that the funds movements controls will gradually be phased out in the next 2 years. Now, for the European debt crisis, despite the improvement in these several countries, yet there is still uncertainty. The countries require economic growth or recovery before they can come out of the doldrums. Now, next year will be a test. There will be a stress test on European banks in 2014. This applies to all European banks, and that will show the real health or otherwise of the European banks. Now, major developments this year, a new member of EU, there's Croatia. So there are now 28 members of EU, and in May next year, there will be elections for the European Parliament, and the EU committee will have will start a new term in December next year. I'll now talk briefly about our cultural promotion programs in different countries in Europe. We have conducted film festivals, and we have arranged for performers from Hong Kong, for instance, the Chinese Orchestra and other performance groups. Now, for some artists and performance groups that come to Hong Kong, we provide them with financial aid. For instance, this year, some young Hong Kong designers were brought by us to Brussels, and they put up a fashion show that was well received, and they requested us to take another group of young designers there next year, and we are talking to some European museums, and hopefully some of the exhibits can be shown in Hong Kong. Thank you, Linda. The BJO representative. Now, we continue to step up liaison between Hong Kong people and mainland in mainland affairs. Now, the tax and labor issues are most important to Hong Kong investors and the manufacturers in China. This affects their costs. The business environment in the past couple of years in China is very different from that in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong businesses, they need more information. They are short-staffed, so it's difficult for them to get information themselves. And the BJO takes the lead, and together with other ETOs in China, we engage some of the best lawyers or legal officers and taxation consultants, and they do it on a voluntary basis. We provide consultation and analysis of cases so that the information is regularly communicated to the chambers of commerce. 93 Hong Kong chambers of commerce have received these specific newsletters, and of our 4 offices in China, when people contact them, they also provide this information. And the country is restructuring in exports and investment. There has been some slowing, and domestic retail sales is now an important element of economic growth. Hong Kong businesses attach a lot of importance to growing the mainland market, and all the ETOs have attached a lot of importance to that this year. We organize seminars inviting those enterprises with experience in building brands in China to share their experience. The domestic market in China is very different from that in Hong Kong, and we have a special fund for promoting domestic sales, and the BJO tells people how to apply for the fund, and reaction has been very favorable. And apart from Beijing, we intend to hold similar seminars in other cities in tandem. Now, apart from the business environment, for Hong Kong businesses, they want to grasp any new opportunities available. So all the ETOs have stepped up our liaison with the various provincial and CPG authorities. We hope to get the latest business information, and then we communicate them to our enterprises. And this includes trade fairs in China, where our companies can seek out their business partners in different provinces. So whether they are in the watch industry or some other industry, they will know which programs they can join in a certain month. And apart from business and commerce, the publicity is also an important part of our work. That's in two respects. Firstly, the business advantage that Hong Kong provides. It's a two-way approach. Firstly, we hope that more enterprises from the mainland will set up offices in Hong Kong or use it as a platform for going global, and also make use of TV and radio programs to highlight the strengths of Hong Kong, and that Hong Kong is an international city. And also within the mainland, we have an investment promotion unit. Now, these are actually staffed by people from Invest HK. We inform people about Hong Kong's strengths, and we hope that people will come to establish offices in our territory. And very often we invite those people who are in the banking circle or other professional services in the mainland, and they will be able to tell people what are our strengths. And Hong Kong also is a diversified society. We publicize Hong Kong's culture, our unique strengths or features. For instance, at BJO this year we have an arts event. We go outside of the museum. We have a very renowned film in popular culture, and it was widely reported in the media, and we invited the film director Chen Ho-sun to come to Beijing to introduce to people to Hong Kong cinema.
Apart from enterprises, there are a lot of Hong Kong people living and working on the mainland, and they need information. In this regard, we have disseminated information on having a wedding or having babies and issues related to everyday lives on the mainland. We have made the information on the internet. We will compile the information into a booklet. The information will also be uploaded onto the internet. So whether you are in the south, in Chengdu, in the north of China, you will be able to get the information. That's all for my report. Thank you. Now I invite the representative in Tokyo to go over our work. Chairman, December last year, the Prime Minister of Japan rolled out Abenomics, his 3 arrows: radical quantity monetary easing, flexible currency policies, and also proactive economic policies. At the beginning of the year, they have started to be implemented. The Japanese banks will double its money supply by 100%, and the inflation will be kept at 2%, and 93 trillion yen will be set as the budget, and there will be proposals to relax certain restrictions. And there is data showing the improvement of Japanese economy. Say, for example, the GNP has increased by 3.8% compared with the last quarter. When it comes to private consumption, business sentiment, confidence, and profitability, they have all improved. Unemployment rate in August is 4.1%, a slight increase by 0.3%. But the Ministry of Labor said that there are more and more people who have joined the labor market, seeing that the economy has improved, and that is the result. Debt in Japan is 200% than the GDP. There are a number of policies or measures to boost the economy, and there is an aging population, so there is pressure. The government closely monitors the situation. The Prime Minister wants to improve their physical situation. Next year, on the 1st of April, they will raise the sales tax from 5% to 8%. There are also measures rolled out, say, for example, tax breaks, allowances for low-income families to cushion the impact on the economy as a result of the increase in sales tax. And as to whether the Japanese economy will continue to improve, we will have to wait and see, because these measures for structural reform will take time to take effect. Their economy is somewhat externally oriented, so subject to factors, say, for example, advanced economies, and also the strengthening of the Korean won. The Korean won has appreciated against Japanese yen. It has affected the Japanese economy. So the economic performance is just moderate. In the second quarter, the GDP has increased by 2.3% compared to the previous quarter, which is a record low. The Korean economy has rolled out 17 trillion won to improve the unemployment situation. And the latest unemployment situation is 3.1%. In July, it was 3.3%. Because of the uncertainties, the Korean government has adjusted the economic forecast. It used to be 3% growth, and now it's adjusted to 2.7%. The coming year, the Korean Central Bank and the Korean government think there will be a growth of 3.8 to 3.9%. The OECD forecast it to be 4%, and the IMF predicted it forecasted to be 3.7%, and that is very close to the Korean figure. The Tokyo ETO. I chaired a meeting. It's attended by the Tourism Board, the TDC, and Invest Hong Kong. They have attended, and we join hands to promote Hong Kong. In various areas in Yokohama and a number of other areas, we have, say, for example, trade seminars. We join hands with the local chambers of commerce to promote Hong Kong. We also meet from time to time with the relevant officials and the media to raise our profile and to let the people there know what activities are organized by Hong Kong. In relation to public relations, it covers a number of areas, not just business, but creative industries and culture as well. The public still has some misunderstanding towards Hong Kong. Say, for example, that Hong Kong is not safe and Hong Kong people are not friendly towards them. In our activities, we highlight the fact that Hong Kong is a safe and friendly city. We welcome Japanese people to come to do business, to visit, to see the relatives, and to study. We have a special feature in English and in Japanese in newspapers. With information of Japanese people living in Hong Kong. And hopefully through this we can dispel misunderstanding of Hong Kong people. When it comes to culture and creative industries, we have done a number of work in various places. We attended the film festival, the Busan International Film Festival, Osaka Asia Film Festival, Fukuoka International Film Festival. We have also held receptions inviting Hong Kong film stars and producers to promote Hong Kong's creative industry. In Korea, we participated in 2 arts festivals. First is a Hong Kong artist in Korea. And we have also invited a number of Korean artists to visit Hong Kong. And we asked them to create some art pieces in an exhibition based on their experience. These Korean artists are quite famous, so it has attracted immediate attention and relatively high turnout. In relation to mass entertainment, we continue to hold the International Dragon Boat Race Hong Kong Cup in Yokohama. We have also sponsored the Hong Kong-based Asian Youth Orchestra in Kamakura, Osaka, and Tokyo. We also hold the annual Hong Kong Cup All Japan University Students English Speech Contest. In the last year, we have strengthened liaison with Hong Kong people living in Tokyo, in Japan and Korea. There were gatherings held in Tokyo, and we held the first gathering in Osaka. When the Secretary for Education visited Seoul, there was the first gathering of Hong Kong students there. And that's all. Thank you. There are still 2. I will first ask our Singaporean representative on our work in ASEAN, and then that will be the one in the EU. Thank you. Well, there is an trade between ASEAN and Hong Kong increased by 6% year-on-year from 2008 and 2012. And apart from Singapore, Malaysia, and various countries, we promote bilateral relations. We've arranged the CS4A to visit Singapore and Thailand to strengthen the bilateral relations between us and them. We will continue to pay attention to the emerging markets in ASEAN. In June last year, through the FS, we have had 2 delegations involving representatives from various industries, say, for example, garment, food, catering. The visit was to Cambodia. It aimed to open up the emerging market. This helps in fostering a bilateral free trade agreement with ASEAN. And more work will start next year. Apart from commercial relations, through public relations and cultural exchanges, we have conducted some activities in Ho Chi Minh City. That was the first film city. And we also sponsored the youth orchestra to perform. 100 entrepreneurs, about 100 creative leaders attended an activity to promote business opportunities and our creative industry. We would also like to increase exchanges of students between Hong Kong and ASEAN. We will continue to strengthen the bilateral relations between us and ASEAN countries. Thank you. Winky. The major duty of the Geneva ETO is to represent Hong Kong as a member of the WTO. It also attended meetings, and we actively participate in a number of standing committees under the WTO. Last year, we mentioned that there was the Doha meeting was at loggerheads, but there was a major change. At the beginning of December, there will be the 9th ministerial meeting in Bali. So all parties are aware that there should, in order to get something done, this meeting is very important. A lot more meetings have been arranged, hoping to catch up with time lost and to reach a consensus, so that in the Bali meeting, there will be some deliverables. There are 3 major areas of the WTO. They are the trade facilitation, agriculture, and differential treatment and least developed country issues. The chairman of the negotiating group would like to get some result. 4 delegations have been selected out of 159 delegations. One of the heads of delegation is the representative of is us. With the difference of stances between developed country and developing countries, we would like to play a bridging role in the negotiation to help find constructive solutions. As we all know that Bali is imminent, but there are major differences among the different parties. To reach a consensus is difficult.
So progress appears to be likely to be slow, and also apart from that, we also work with members of WTO to work outside that framework on service agreements, and the scope covers professional services, etc. And the progress has been good. Since 2012, there have been 8 rounds of discussion, and people are starting to talk about opening up markets, how to proceed, and there are now 23 members, and 2 WTO members are interested in joining. All of them feel that the multilateral talks are helpful. Now, also the Geneva ETO also takes part in the work of standing committees within the WTO. Now, next year, WTO will conduct the 15th round of assessment of trade policies, and that covers Hong Kong. We feel that is a good platform to show our strength in trade policies. So this is a main point of our work next year. Our Taiwan representative, now there will be another item of agenda on Taiwan later on, so we will leave that till that round. Mr. Members, Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Now, having heard from the representatives, we know that the world is changing, and so is Hong Kong. So I think the representatives is providing useful information, and at least we will be able to recognize you. I almost missed Linda just now. We support your work. We know that you work very hard. In June, I participated in the promotion called Think Asia, Think Hong Kong, and the others worked very hard. Now we have several offices in the U.S. And then several in the mainland. Now recently we've been talking about the Asian Pacific Economic Conferences and closer cooperation with ASEAN. But we only have one office in Singapore. I don't know how you can divide your time, or whether you can travel at all. Is it that we don't have the money, Mr. Permanent Secretary? Now we note the recent Philippine incident. We don't have an office. Even though we can work through the Chinese consulate, should we set up an office in each country, even if it's not a big office, at least it's a desk with chairs for people to come and ask questions or take phone calls? Now, Mr. Secretary, I think we have plenty of talent in the civil service. That's no problem. As for money, Emily Lau is smiling sweetly, so I think she supports the suggestion. So, Mr. Secretary, any plans in how to make better use of these officers apart from economic activities? For instance, tourism. How do you help Hong Kong people who are in difficulty in these countries? I welcome the members' questions, and I am sure our colleagues appreciate your remarks, giving due recognition to our work. Now, whether it's within the mainland or abroad, we do have a relatively small number of officers. In the past, in deciding which countries to set up an office in, we decide on the basis of our relationship in economic and commercial relationship with that country. Now, so it's mainly about economics and investment, and so we covered the main economies. Recently, we tried to catch up in ASEAN and Asia. We tried to do a better job there. So we will review whether our resources are properly distributed amongst our offices, or whether these resources are adequate. Of course, if we open a new office, we do require support from LegCo, so we will conduct these reviews. When we come up with something, we will come back to LegCo. Now, Chairman, now the Secretary said that we would only open an office when an economy has reached a certain stage of development. I think we should not wait as long as these places have potential. We should try to exert more influence and participate more in those countries. There are countries in ASEAN, in Asia, and also cities in China. This so-called domestic, there's a homeland relationship. We hope to do better in that regard, to have more officers in more cities. Mr. Andrew Leung. To follow up on Mr. Lam's point, we will have talks with ASEAN in early next year. I think this is important for Hong Kong, even though traditionally the European and American markets are important and they are showing signs of recovery, but the growth is faster in Asia. Now, of course, there are hurdles. Now, Mr. Secretary, you need to have more officers to tie in with the talks. Now, in the summer vacations, I went with TDC to Mexico and Colombia. I think they have great growth potential. The Hong Kong government is very careful in spending its money, and so Mexico and Colombia and also Chile, they are all very promising places to have offices in. Chile is a big market. It's a chicken and egg problem. If you don't have an egg, you don't have a chicken. Now, for the SMEs in Hong Kong, many SME delegations were able to get more business in places like Mexico. So now maybe you don't have a formal ETO, maybe some office at a lower level in Mexico or Chile. No, you have to invest your money. It's not just spending the money. And economic and trade relations are bilateral. The beef is cheap, for instance. We often say beef from China is expensive. Secretary, two issues. Now, our talks with ASEAN concerning a possible free trade agreement. Now, as my Singapore colleague mentioned, in principle, we have reached a principal agreement with the 10 members of ASEAN that in early next year we hope to start formally these talks, and hopefully in the future we can have a Hong Kong free trade agreement with the 10 members of ASEAN. And this morning we just arranged for the economic and trade ministers from the 10 ASEAN members to come to Hong Kong. And this morning we were able to attract several hundred businessmen and women to engage in this seminar, and these officials from those countries briefed them on the conditions and requirements for investing in those countries. So this now I agree with the member, we don't have to wait for a market to become totally mature before we build up a relationship. But we have a division of labor. Now, apart from the government, we also have TDC, I'm sure you're familiar with. The TDC is working in some emerging markets. They have their own representatives to assist businesses from Hong Kong or their counterparts from those countries to come to Hong Kong or Asia. We provide them with information. As for whether the government needs to have an officer in every place, well, to operate an office, the resources required are substantial, so we will consider carefully, and if we have some new ideas, we will come back to let you go. Next, Emily Lau. Thank you, Chairman. Now, I also welcome so many officials for coming back to have this meeting with us. I think there will be a cocktail party or something later on, so I think that would be a good opportunity. Now, I do agree that we need to have new business opportunities. Now, so that's because in some traditional markets things are not that rosy. Now we have heard about BRIC, of course, China, Brazil, Russia, and India. These are not covered here. Now, I understand from the Secretary that we don't open an office lightly because it's expensive. And you talked about ASEAN, and Mr. Leung talked about South America. Now, for the other 3 BRIC members, have you studied those possibilities? You need to study the opportunities coming up. Or is it that they are not worth further study? Now, your ETOs, do you go there or not? Chairman, in the past few years, the Financial Secretary personally visited the BRIC countries, including South Africa, Russia, India, Brazil. Of course, I have said that we do not need to open an office in every market, but we note the potential in these markets where feasible. For instance, our London office, they are not just responsible for UK matters, they also take care of matters in several European countries, including the bilateral relations with Russia. So in the case of Russia, we rely on our London colleagues to visit Russia from time to time, and we arrange for senior HKSR officials, including the bureau secretaries and the to visit Russia. Now, as for places where we do not have an ETO office nearby, we make use of our Hong Kong colleagues. For instance, industry and commerce officials have visited India to see the opportunities available. Of course, if Bureau Administrative Secretaries can visit there, those countries, our officers provide the support required. So we do attach importance to that work. Of course, it's not as productive as if we have an office in each place. It depends on the level of interest. We have to study what's the level of economic benefit.
I understand what the PS said. The global economy is not doing well. Well, it's not the case that all our trading partners have bankrupt, but they are having a difficult time. So I hope the administration will be more forward-looking. You said that you have done some work. If you have done some studies, let us know. We're not talking about closing an office and opening another somewhere else. I believe the PS will understand that from time to time you may need to redeploy. Hong Kong people have high expectations of the civil service. I'm not from the business sector, but I've heard a lot of voices from the business sector saying that they're having a difficult time. I'm sure you have heard that. If we can devote more resources in overseas offices to help them, I believe the electrical will welcome that. Next, Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Thank you. I welcome you all home. You can have a good rest while you're back in Hong Kong. Just a couple of questions. A number of members mentioned that you need to consider setting up offices in a number of places. I do know that the establishment of an office attracts a high cost. Has the CEDB and CEDB considered opening a branch? Not a proper office, but a branch, to send staff out from the office. Say for example, the Washington office can also oversee South America, to just open a branch there. Will you consider that? I believe that if you make such a proposal, the panel, the Finance Committee will look into it. Perhaps the PS will give me an answer later. I have a question for Joyce. With the free trade pilot zone in place in Shanghai, I think the impact on Hong Kong will be quite significant. Are there any ways the Shanghai office can help Hong Kong businessmen in getting something out of the free trade pilot zone? Can anything be done in this regard? I'd like to hear from Joyce. P.S. Of course, we will think about that. As far as I know, when it comes to our mainland offices, it's under the purview of the CMAB. But as far as I understand, that there are some sub-offices on the mainland, and there is one in Canada. We have a sub-office in Vancouver. The proper office is in Toronto. As I've said to members, we will have a stock take of our resources, and we will consider your proposal. I now will defer to Joyce about the Shanghai Free Trade Zone. Yes, the Shanghai Free Trade Zone is a hot topic. Let me give you some background information. The policy has been brewing for some time. The plan was announced on the 27th of September, and it officially opened on the 29th, which is just before the Golden Week of the mainland. Our office was open during the Golden Week because a lot of people went to ask questions. And it's been just less than a month. The details are gradually disclosed. We're talking about 28 kilometers square, including the bridge, the Yangshan port, the Pudong airport, and the existing bonded area. The services include trade liberalization, 6 areas: financial, transportation, culture, etc. 23 liberalization measures. The general direction is innovation of system. When it comes to areas that are open to foreign investment, if it is not on the negative list where foreign investors are allowed, Shanghai will file it and not vet it. That is not the approach. There is also something that the public has been waiting. On the 29th, a number of measures was announced. It says that the principle was that when the risk can be controlled, they will have a pilot scheme on free trading of renminbi and the utilization of renminbi across the district areas. HSBC, Hang Seng, and Bank of East Asia have got approval to set up branches in the free trade zone. In Shanghai and in the Changjiang River Delta and other areas, there are a lot of Hong Kong businessmen who have expressed an interest in the free trade zone. They would like to participate. We have, as soon as possible, disseminate the measures, including chambers of commerce and our contact points on the mainland. We've received a lot of inquiries. We're asking about the actual procedure involved. There are a lot of measures involving systemic innovation, and some of the measures have yet to be implemented. Information are not completely disclosed. We're trying to get the authorities to hold briefings to Hong Kong businessmen. Where we have received actual inquiries, we are following up on them with the relevant authorities. I expect that there will be more announcements made in the future. There are conflicts between what they have announced and existing legislation, and there is no announcement about suspension of certain laws. It's been less than a month. The situation is still a little bit confusing. So we're trying to do something about giving support and clarification of issues. Mr. Zhong Guoban. I have a number of questions for the officials. The New York report. Well, you mentioned about a number of activities. You said that there are some achievements. What are these achievements? More businesses? More U.S. investors coming to Hong Kong? Setting up the regional headquarters? Or what? Second question. I learned from these reports that Hong Kong's creative cultural industries have been promoted, also our innovation and technology. We know that in Hong Kong, when it comes to innovation, technology, cultural and creative industries, they are not doing quite well here. Little resources have been put into it. You promote these things, and when people come here, they find a completely different story. So the administration will have to devote more resources on innovation, technology, cultural and creative industries here in Hong Kong first. And when it comes to promotion of creative and cultural industries, mostly is about films. And the only person you approach is Jackie Chan. Film industry is not the only industry here. I remember, well, someone said that there is a fashion show in Brussels, and it was very successful. So you should promote different industries, as say, for example, fashion, young designers. You should take them overseas instead of relying just on our film industry. The Singaporean office is having discussions with ASEAN. And it said that free trade agreements will be discussed next year. Will you have to do it one by one? Say, for example, first with Myanmar and then with Thailand, just one by one? There is another question. A member mentioned about opening up more offices in different places. Actually, there can be division of labor with the TDC because some of their work is duplicated. There are two offices in London, one of the ETO, the other one the TDC. So can there be proper division of labor so that there won't be any duplication of work? Perhaps I will first answer a number of questions and then I will defer to my colleague for the New York questions. Duplication of work. There are 11 ETOs. TDC has its own network, but the target groups are different. For the TDC, mostly their target groups are overseas buyers and possible business partners. For the ETO, we deal with liaison with the media, the political circle, the government, etc. Where there is a duplication of work, we're only talking about a small area. Yes, in New York there are two offices, but they do their own work.
So, with the exception of 2 or 3 places, the TDC officers and the government officers are not in the same place. Now, on the talks with ASEAN, now the ASEAN itself is a free trade area. So they talk with other economies as a single unit as far as free trade is concerned. Now, Mr. Chung asked whether we can engage in bilateral talks with certain countries. Now, if it's not about free trade agreement, yes. If it's about trade promotion and bilateral protection, yes, we do talk to individual countries. We will start talking with Myanmar in the near future because many manufacturers are getting more interested in investing in Myanmar. So for the free trade agreement, we must talk to all 10 members. That's the mode of operation. So we talk about the framework agreement and then we talk about the market opening measures with individual countries. Now, as for the creative and innovation industries, now, on the other side, within our bureau, there are colleagues engaging in R&D, in innovation in creative industries, and on promotion, we don't just promote films. Previously, we promoted digital media fashion, the TDC and we both engage in work relating to creative industries, but it's not just limited to a single industry. The New York colleague, please. Please be succinct. Yes. Now, Mr. Chung asked what were the fruits. Now, in June, there was a forum on moving to Hong Kong. Now, first of all, there was quite a lot of media coverage, and 15 businessmen and women attended, 1,500. So I talked to many of them, and that they said that it's rare for a country or city to hold such a large-scale forum in New York, and over 300 countries inquired with us or the TDC about coming to Hong Kong and doing business, and over 600 companies asked Invest HK about setting up office in Hong Kong. Now, these inquiries were in June. Of course, they don't start opening up offices in Hong Kong right away, but at least they have indicated their interest. And also about the wine market. Hong Kong imports a lot of wine right now. Hong Kong is now the third largest wine market for the U.S. Many people don't know that. I went to many states, and they felt that the opportunity is great in Hong Kong. So they will come to Hong Kong on in November for the beverages and food festival and wine exhibitions, and they have done good business in the past. And this is the 30th anniversary of our office, and in many states we organized events for people to know about Hong Kong. So state governors and senior officials led delegations to Hong Kong, and I think this is very helpful, and this is having very good long-term impact on relationship with the U.S. The Civic Party is very supportive of the work of the various ETOs. Just now, Mr. Zhong Guoban talked about the development of the creative industries. I agree strongly. No matter how hard the colleagues work outside of Hong Kong, we need to develop a quality creative industry within Hong Kong. But it's disappointing that on the issue of TV license, there are young people, some of them we see outside, they are strongly motivated, but the results have not been forthcoming. There's very little, it seems, on Hong Kong as an arbitration and mediation resolution, dispute resolution center. Now, some of the people in the arbitration business, they told me that the work done in Singapore far exceeds that done in Hong Kong. Very often, the Hong Kong government doesn't do enough. I mentioned this on other occasions. And also, the Professional Services Development Fund, can we inject more resources so that the International Arbitration Center can have more resources available in promoting the work overseas? Now, the ETOs can help with the promotion. Now, the CEs in recent terms have talked about developing the arbitration services in Hong Kong, but there haven't been enough resources. Let me answer in a general way. Now, of course, the SAR government has attach a lot of importance to promoting Hong Kong as an arbitration center. It's led by the CS of A. Now, our officers, or rather, is S of J coordinates this, and our ETOs is coordinating this and in support of the S of DOJ work, and we help the officers to come over and engage in promotion, and we at our ETOs is working closely with the DFJ on this. And as for the promotion of other professional services, we generally include Hong Kong as an international arbitration center. So even though it's not mentioned specifically in our reports, this is part of our regular work. Perhaps Andrew can talk further about the professional services development, the fund. Can more support be made available? Now, the fund was established to support the professional services industries, not specifically on the international arbitration center. Now, I don't have the details on hand, but I believe it was hoped that within 3 years, the financial assistance can support various professional services. They will apply for the funding. Now, if I remember correctly, the funding program has concluded recently, and we do not have immediate plans to come to LEGC for additional funding. The main reason is that the Economic Development Commission under the CE has a working group looking at what new support should be provided by the government in the future. So we will wait for the report from that working group. Mr. Lam Tai Fai. Thank you, Chairman. China is now the second largest economy in the world, so we need to expand and deepen, or rather China needs to broaden and deepen its financial industry. Now, just now my colleague mentioned about the free trade agreement. Now, choice provides a positive interpretation. Many people look at it negatively. Now, it's a pilot free trade zone in Shanghai. Now, there must be more tests, more pilot zones. Maybe other cities will engage in the same. So, Joy is right. We should try to glean more opportunities for Hong Kong enterprises. First of all, you need to gather more information because you have more access and quicker access to the information. And so that information can translate into opportunities for the industries. That's very important. Also, colleagues mentioned that there should be more ETOs. Now, I neither support nor object to that. There are many countries in the world. Now, we need to be very careful on how much resources we put into them. Now, we have several ETOs. Should we have one in every province? We need to study that. That may not necessarily be a good thing. Now, rather, we should step up the cooperation between departments and between officers. either internationally or within China. Now, the BJO in particular has a lot of information that would be very helpful because you are right in the capital. Now, for the mainland ETOs, Beijing, Shanghai, now, I don't know your full name, but you can quite easily travel to Hong Kong either by train or by air, so you can come back more frequently. Well, you shouldn't take all that much rest. You should meet all the chambers of commerce and meet them for the full 8 hours of the day. Now, the cruiser terminal is one of your areas of promotion, and you have a cruiser visiting recently, but they only come here for half a day. Now, how do you make better use of the terminal? Now, you can make use of the ETOs, how to attract more people to come to Hong Kong by cruiser. They can travel by cruiser even if they come to do business. So this can help Hong Kong's cruiser terminal to develop. This will help the domestic economy and provide business opportunities. Now, perhaps the Secretary can tell us how you will support the development of the cruiser terminal.
Tourism is not the subject of this panel, but it's under the purview of Greg Soul, the Secretary. Yes, when it comes to promotion of cruise industry, that is also one of our major tasks. Through our ETOs, especially those in Asia, we are aware that we need to attract new cruises of new route to come to Hong Kong, especially those from Asian countries. In the next agenda item, you will hear something about promotion of cruise industries between Hong Kong and Taiwan. Apart from doing our work through the tourism tourism industry council and also the tourism board, we promote multi-destination holidays and using Hong Kong as the home port. There will be 2 trips using Hong Kong as the home port, traveling to Taiwan. But there are cruise trips from Sweden or from Singapore. I think our overseas ETOs can do more. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, 2 minutes. Yes, okay. I agree with what Mr. Lam said. Well, when you have a good rest, then you can work better. And I'd like to say that with the Shanghai Free Trade Zone, the pie will be bigger. But we can't just sit on our hands waiting for things to happen. We have to do something. Hopefully, Joyce will do something so that Hong Kong businessmen can benefit. Well, the Guangdong scheme has started. So I have a question for the Guangdong ETO. With the Guangdong scheme in place, what preparation work have you done because this is in relation to Hong Kong people's livelihood. Alan? After the scheme has come into effect, there are more people coming to our office to asking questions and also telephone inquiries. Most of them are about the application procedure, and as a result, our workload has increased. We have also visited organizations we're involved in the elderly, say for example residential care homes, to see what more we can do. We have also have some cooperation with other organizations and bodies to promote the scheme. All in all, the progress is smooth. I know that there are some elderly people who can't really come back to Hong Kong. What about your manpower level? Is it sufficient? I'm concerned. Well, the organization that has got the work from the social welfare department will reach out to people who can't really come back to Hong Kong. On behalf of this panel, we welcome the representatives for coming home, and I hope to see you more often to give us an update. You work for Hong Kong people, and you are actually away from the hot kitchen. A lot of members have talked about opening of offices. Myanmar is a hot topic. I hope the administration will do something more in terms of ASEAN. South America is a huge market. We're talking about a continent, and there is not even an office. Of course, if you go to South America, you have to be fluent in Spanish. But there will be business opportunities because we're talking about South America, and we don't even have a representative there. Please consider it. And I'd like to thank Kathy from the BJO. You mentioned something about taxation. Well, I have businesses on the mainland. Very often, we get tangled up in these confusing taxation issues, and if you can disseminate information to us, it will greatly benefit us, because the tax regime on the mainland is very complicated, and the penalties are very serious. It can be imprisonment, so we really appreciate all the information you can get. Thank you. There will be a cocktail reception for members to mingle with you.
跟住呢，我哋就踏入咗議程。
Next is item 4, trade relations between Hong Kong and Taiwan. I welcome you again. P.S. Please give us an overview of the situation in Taiwan. Thank you. The administration has been working on strengthening the cooperation between Hong Kong and Taiwan. There is information paper prepared for the panel. and is given to members before the meeting. It gives information about trade relations between Hong Kong and Taiwan through the ECCPC and the THEC, that is the Hong Kong Taiwan Economic and Cultural Cooperation and Promotion Council, and the Taiwan Hong Kong Economic and Cultural Cooperation Council. We have achieved some progress. I'm happy to have the person in charge of the Hong Kong ETCO of Taiwan, John, with us, and I will now give the floor to John to give us the latest development of trade relations between Hong Kong and Taiwan, and also the latest round of discussion between the ECCPC and the THEC. John. Members and Chairman, the Hong Kong ETCO has been in operation for just over a year in Taiwan. Recently, there were quite a number of trade and economic activities. Last Friday, there was an economic cooperation forum. It was with the Taiwanese magazine and co-hosted by TDC. We would like to find representatives from the cultural sector, the business sector, and the economic sector in the establishment of a cross-strait framework agreement. We hope to cooperate with Taiwan to promote offshore renminbi business. Julia Leung, the Undersecretary of the FSTB, was one of the speakers. It was very well received. There were 200 Taiwanese participants attending, and it was covered by the media as well. And through electronic platforms, say for example, starting from March, there was a newsletter, Taiwan Hong Kong newsletter, giving information to chambers of commerce in Taiwan and Hong Kong companies in Taiwan and Taiwanese companies who would like to invest in Hong Kong. We go to different provinces and cities in Taiwan. We have been to 13 of them. In the past 2 months, we went to Nam Tao and Gammun. We plan to visit the south and the east. Apart from meeting with the local leaders, we will also talk to their chambers of commerce and their SMEs. The TDC has an office in Taipei. We have close liaison with them in the promotion of industry cooperations of different sectors. In the past few months, there has been activities related to legal services, logistics, and creative industries. Next week, there is another one, shipping, a delegation of shipping. The TDC will organize a seminar. We will arrange visits for the delegation. In relation to investment promotion, we have a unit in Taiwan. There are seminars, forums. Say, for example, in April, there was one on the biotechnology. In September, there was one with Zhao Qing. It's a trade and economic exchange. It was quite well received. In September, the fourth joint meeting has taken place in terms of we hope to reach an agreement on insurance regulation, a memorandum of understanding. We're at the stage of preliminary discussion. Hopefully, it will come to fruition soon. When it comes to trade liberalization, certification and testing, and investment promotion, our work has already started. And in terms of cultural innovation and creative industry, at the end of November to December, there is a Hong Kong Week. Well, it's called Hong Kong Week, but it's a month-long event. Apart from cultural events, there are promotions related to our creative industry. Say, for example, an Anycom Expo, an event with Hong Kong and Taiwan animators, and also a fashion week. One of the exhibition is about Changshan in Hong Kong. We've approached the textile and garment faculty of the Polytechnic University to hold 2 fashion shows. Next year, hopefully in central Taiwan and southern Taiwan, we will hold more promotional activities. Say, for example, promotional forum or a fora or seminar on investment in Hong Kong. We will liaise with the local business sector in the promotion of Hong Kong's edge. They closely monitor the trade liberalization in relation to services between Hong Kong and Mainland. We give information, the Hong Kong situation under CEPA. There are areas of concern and there may be some misunderstanding. In a recent event, I took the opportunity to explain to them. Next, Mr. Dennis Kwok. Thank you. I'd like to ask something that is of concern of the legal sector about the recognition of qualification of lawyers. I know that in recent days the 2 governments had a discussion. But unfortunately, when it comes to mutual legal assistance on criminal and civil matters, there has been some stumbling blocks. How can you get Hong Kong lawyers' qualifications to be recognized? We know that Taiwanese lawyers are recognized here, but not the other way around.
Also, for Hong Kong lawyers, can we go to Taiwan and make use of the HKETCO as a basis to further develop our business in Taiwan? John. On Hong Kong lawyers practicing or providing legal service in Taiwan, the DOJ is very concerned about this. We understand that under Taiwan law, this is not done, and the DOJ works through the ECCPC and THEC platform to reflect our concern to the Taiwan authorities, and we try to cooperate with the with the D of J in liaising with the Taiwan authorities, and but this may take time because it involves local legal issues in Taiwan. Now, the TDC, the Law Society, jointly had a large delegation consisting of over 20 members that took part in a seminar in Taiwan, and they had good exchanges with local legal bodies and officials. I was present during all of the seminar. Now, the business sector is interested in Hong Kong services on arbitration and protection of property rights and the establishment of companies. So their response has been enthusiastic. In the Q&A, we ran out of time. And, of course, we had opportunities to discuss further with them at dinners and so on. Now, if the legal sector is interested, we would be glad to serve as a platform alongside the TDC, and we can use seminars to promote legal service from Hong Kong, and the Taiwan arbitration groups is also interested in setting up an office in Hong Kong, and Invest HK will be glad to help with that. Now I do know that Law Society visited Taiwan a few months ago, but what follow-up have we done? Now, perhaps after the meeting, I can take this up further with you. Next, Mr. Zhong Guokban. Now, just now, the ETO representative said that there was a show in Brussels for Hong Kong designers, and same for Taiwan. Can you inject more resources to help this industry to develop? Now, on visa requirements, now it's quite easy. People can do it on the internet, but can you do better? Now, in 2008, there has been direct links introduced between Hong Kong and Taiwan, between China and Taiwan. So actually, there has been a synergy effect, so Hong Kong's role has not really diminished. Now, Hong Kong, how can it play a better role with regard to CEPA and EFTA? I will answer the latter part of the question, and then Charmaine can talk about the first part. Now, when the Mainland and China signed EFTA, we have been concerned about Hong Kong's role as an entrepot being affected, but the outcome has been an increase in bilateral trade. The pie has become bigger and Hong Kong's role has increased. Now, we don't just stand idly by. Now, on entrepot trade, we introduced a facilitation scheme. Our customs authorities encourage goods to be traded between China and Taiwan using Hong Kong as an entrepot, and the facilitation measures have been streamlined recently, and we will continue to review these mechanisms regularly with Taiwan. Also, the representative also mentioned that the director mentioned that we hope there can be a free trade agreement with Taiwan. Now, there is now EFTA between China and Taiwan, and there's CEPA between Hong Kong and China. So there should be, it would be helpful if we have a free trade agreement amongst the three places across the straits, and we will follow up. Now, the director has mentioned that we are doing a lot of work to encourage business sector from Taiwan to support this, because the Hong Kong business sector is certainly very supportive, but we hope that the Taiwan business sector and others concerned can also give their support so that we can engage in discussions at an early date. Charmaine, now, Mr. Chung mentioned about travel facilitation measures. Now, for Hong Kong people traveling to Taiwan, they can apply on the internet. Now, under this principle, last year in September, the Immigration Department introduced a facilitation mechanism so that Taiwan people can go on the internet free of charge and register. This saves a lot in terms of time and money. Now, for Taiwan visitors to Hong Kong, it's about 10% of the population. Over 2 million come to Hong Kong every year for tourism. And also about 10% of Hong Kong people, that is over 700,000, go to Taiwan regularly every year. And the facilitation mechanisms have become made this even easier. So last year, over 1 million Hong Kong people visited Taiwan. So the new measures were introduced just last year, and we will continue to review to see what other facilitation measures can be introduced. The Secretary, you mentioned CEPA and EFTA. Now, can there be a link between the three places across the straits? Well, I have this personal experience. Our manufacturing concerns activities move to China. So if I have garments to be shipped to Taiwan, I have to do that on a separate bill of lading or document. So there has to be a Hong Kong label before it can go to Taiwan. So if something is manufactured in China, can you facilitate that so that it can go directly to Taiwan? It used to be difficult, but with CEPA and EFTA, with EFTA, I think it should be a lot easier because there are tax concessions under EFTA and the other measures. Now, I don't have all the details on hand right now, but with CEPA between Hong Kong and mainland, it makes it easier for goods, whether they are manufactured in Hong Kong or China, to be circulated more easily. And also under EFTA, we know that there are similar provisions, and CEPA is already in its 10th year. We hope that we can reach an agreement with Taiwan concerning trade facilitation between Hong Kong and Taiwan to reduce the import controls or tariffs. So for Hong Kong people manufacturing in China, they would find it easier to do business with Taiwan. Now, hopefully we can reach an in-principle agreement for that. We don't have that yet. Now, members mentioned about the cruiser terminal. Now, Taiwan is a very important point in the itinerary for these cruisers, and the visa requirements in China has been relaxed, so have we considered closer cooperation with Taiwan concerning the cruiser trade. Now, we have already successfully secured from the CPG in that mainland travelers coming to Hong Kong, they are now allowed to go from Hong Kong to Taiwan, and then they can move on to Japan or Korea before going back to China. So this has just been approved after our efforts, and at the same time, at Tourism Board and the Taiwan counterparts have agreed this year to expand cooperation to develop the cruiser industry, and we've arranged for a cruiser company to in the fourth quarter of this year, as I reported just now, to add the deployment of a cruiser service between Hong Kong and Taiwan, using Hong Kong as a base. So this service will start in December.
There is great potential in our cooperation when it comes to cruise services in North Asia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, China. The eastern coast of China can all be stopping points of a cruise ship. Of course, we're trying to get businesses of using Hong Kong as the home port. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. When it comes to cooperation with Taiwan, one of the areas is certification and testing. Such cooperation with the mainland can be done under CEPA. The CEPA opens a door for Hong Kong businesses in testing and certification to get business on the mainland. When it comes to such cooperation between Hong Kong and Taiwan, other than just technological exchanges? Are there any other developments? In the international arena, there are some platforms in testing and certification. There are accreditations, mutual recognition. You talk about a preliminary discussion. What is the general direction? Well, it's past the appointed time. Can I extend the meeting by 15 minutes? This is the direction we're going along. Relevant testing and certification bodies in Hong Kong has started discussion with the relevant bodies in Taiwan. They aim at coming up with mutual recognition. We've already started discussions with Taiwan. Hopefully, in the near future, there will be some concrete results. I have to declare, I am a member of the Hong Kong Council of Testing and Certification. Our council hopes to establish Hong Kong as the regional center. So it's not just about cooperation with the mainland, but that with Taiwan as well. The mainland is a huge market. Through CEPA, we have opened some doors. Hopefully, we will see something similar in Taiwan. There is a platform that I can see. But we hope that Hong Kong can eventually be turned into a regional center for testing and certification. Next, Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Thank you for extending the meeting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the opportunity to ask a question. Well, all representatives of the mainland offices have left. And here we have representatives from Taiwan. Well, in Taiwan. Before 1997, there was no overseas office in Taiwan. This is the first one. It's an office under the government. It's the ETCO, Economic Trade and Culture Office. It has significance, and the work is unique. You have spoken a lot about liaison. I'd like to know whether this office has encountered any difficulties. The political landscape, background, culture of Taiwan is different from Hong Kong to a large extent. There is a delicate relation among Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the mainland. So when it comes to your work, manpower, anything, have you encountered any difficulties? The second question. In the last term, this panel mentioned about a visit to Taiwan. To look at the work of the ETCO. Is there any possibility for such a visit in this term? Well, I think it's down to you, Chairman. So one question for Mr. Leung and one for our Chairman. I thank Mr. Wong for his concern. It's just over a year. Time flies. It means that our work is smooth. We contacted different sectors, different municipal levels, administrative departments in Taiwan, different bodies, the business sector, the cultural sector in Taiwan. And they're very friendly towards us. We have to know about their laws and their relevant regulations. If something happens to Hong Kong people there, we're still learning about how to follow that up. We have dealt with a couple of cases, and we have got an understanding of how things work. We have to visit more places. We have to keep on exploring. In terms of manpower, our work on economic and trade is sufficient. The office engages in promotion of trade and economic activities. There is also an element of cultural cooperation. And in this regard, manpower is tight. In November and December, we have a Hong Kong week, which in fact is a month-long, large-scale exhibition of Hong Kong culture. There are 4 events. So manpower is tight in this regard, but we will do our best. Because we believe it's difficult to get a creation of a post. So we will do our best. Mr. Wong, in reply to your question, if panel members would like to go, of course I will climb mountains to make it happen. Last time, the office was just open, so we did not want to trouble them. And now it's been a year. If there are requests for a visit, I will liaise with Mr. Leung. I don't think there will be any problem. Maybe next time we'll get an indication from members. Well, item 5. Any other business? Any? If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you.